What's up in War Eagle War Report family? It's your guy, Ike Jones. We are here back with another morning drop today, talking about most improved players for the 2023 upcoming football season. Let's discuss it. Y'all know how we do right here, War Report style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report.
Morning drop. We are back in here. My guy B Will this morning.
What it is.
Jones War Report style morning drop. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. July the 14th. Today, it's my parents' anniversary, man. It's my parents' anniversary.
Oh, man. Happy anniversary to them.
50 years of marriage celebrated today.
That's a long time.
It's a long time, man. 50 years of marriage. So happy anniversary to my mother and father out there doing wonderful things. We're going to actually have a little wedding renewal ceremony tomorrow. So,
oh, that's what's up. That's
yeah,
what's up. You tell them I said congrats. I don't get to see them too often, but
definitely will do that. Definitely will do that. Anyway, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing other than I just want say what's up to my folks like that. But yeah, today we're talking a little Auburn football. Our guy over at auburnsports.com, Brian Matthews, aka B Matt, wrote an article about a week ago. It is linked in the description of this video in case you guys want to read that. But he got me thinking when I read it. He talked about players that he felt like were his top 5 players that had improved the most from the last season over to this season, taking into account what has happened over the spring. And so I was like, hey, man, let's talk about that. Which players do we feel like have had the most improvement in the last year? Now, we have a very small sample size to be able to take a look at that, mostly just from spring practices, a very sloppy A-Day game, a little bit of summer workouts, testimonials from maybe some players and coaches that we've talked to.
Right.
But he gave a top 5. I asked B Will to come prepared with 3 in the clip.
Yes.
And I'm going to give my 3. You want to volleyball this thing? You want to,
yeah, let's go back and forth. Let's go back and forth.
I'll give you the first one. Who's
okay?
Are we going from least improved to most improved, or just 3 random names? How you want to do this?
Let's go 3 random names. Let's go 3 random names.
All right, in no order whatsoever. Not the most improved player, the least improved player. 3 random names. B Will, who you got first as your most improved player coming into the 2023 season?
One of the names on BMAT's list was defensive lineman Jason Jones, and I firmly agree with that. Mostly because he was injured most of the season. Now, if you saw him, he had an elbow brace on, and we had it on pretty good information that his elbow had been hurt either early in the season or in fall camp. He was not 100% for much of the season. Now, a year down here, the ability to be here, mature, leadership, I think, is taking a step forward, but also his physical ability and strength. Now that arm is better, I think he's going to be a much more impactful. He may have held his ground and not gotten run through last year, but I expect him to be even more of a wall this season as a healthy big body on that defensive line.
Okay. Not a bad choice. I agree that Jason Jones, just from a health standpoint, is improved, and hopefully he comes into this season ready to contribute immediately. I think that going into last season, there were high hopes for him to come in and just be an immediate difference maker. But that injury did hold him back. So hopefully young Jason Jones is ready to wreck shop in the SEC in year 2 here at Auburn.
Hopefully.
He's not on my list. Not on my list of most.
So good. So we had
players.
little differences there. All right.
I think the guy who has raised his stock the most in the last year, or one of the top 3 guys that has raised his stock, I'm going to go and I'm going to say Jalen Simpson.
Oh, interesting.
Why do I say Jalen Simpson?
Why do you say Jalen Simpson?
Because this is going to be his first offseason where he's primarily focused on being a safety. He did well at safety at the end of last year. He talked about how he likes playing safety. He's going to be under the tutelage of our guy, Zach Etheridge, back there playing safety for the full offseason for the first time in his collegiate career. I think Jalen Simpson goes into this season poised to be a guy making noise, to be on a list of some sort, whether that is all SEC, first, second team, something like that. He's got that kind of talent. If Jalen Simpson remains healthy and he's back there playing safety the way that he did at the end of last season, I think Jalen Simpson could be one of those guys that could be mentioned as one of the best safeties in the SEC coming into this season. He's a great tackler. He's got a great nose for the football. He always seems to come up with, the interception, some kind of opportunistic play. I like Jalen Simpson a lot at safety full time. I think that he is one of the most improved. His stock rose the most during this offseason. Jalen Simpson.
You know what? I can't argue with that at all. I also agree with you that he probably found his best position in the secondary by going to safety. Whoever made that decision was probably Zach Etheridge, all things considered, because he was a secondary coach. That was a good decision for him. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing him play that position full-time coming from the end of last year, off-season, and now going into the next season as a starting safety. It's kind of hard to really assess how that pecking order is going to go in that secondary. We talked about that just because there's so many dudes, and we've recruited so well, partially because Zach Etheridge has been recruiting well since the moment he stepped on campus here. So we've got a lot of talent back there. So yeah, I'm very interested to see if he's not the starter. I think we will have 3 safeties on the field a lot. So
there's going to be a rotation in the secondary for sure this year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Jalen Simpson. Again, a full offseason of him being at that position, able to really understand what his role is going to be in that defensive backfield. Looking forward to a big year from Jalen Simpson.
Agreed. All right, so that takes me to my second most improved player coming into the 2023 season. And, we've been able to advertise some of the fireside chat that we had with wide receivers Camden Brown, Coy Moore, and Jay Fair, who all sat down and talked to us about not just coming into the season, but some of what they were feeling last season as well. Now, there's going to be a little sneak peek of that, but what I want to say is I think Camden Brown's going to be a much improved.
I thought you were going to make Mike G very happy in that moment and say Jay Fair, but continue. Camden Brown.
It's hard for Jay Fair to improve. Really, for either one of them as true freshmen to improve astronomically, because I do think we could see some of the struggles going on with that offense. And something that we concluded just watching before we even talked to them was that this passing game is being held back by a lack of quality offensive line play. We always talked about that, but also we felt like if you don't really have that many chances to have a coherent passing game, then that's got to frustrate you as a wide receiver. Your ceiling is limited. It's capped based on what can't go right for you to even get a ball thrown your way. And I think Camden Brown, with his measurables, has the best chance to get on the field with the new crop of wide receivers that Hugh Freeze has brought in. We know he likes big dudes, wide catch radiuses, strong hands. Camden Brown has all that. All right. He is a physical monster. I expect him to be one of the most improved players on offense. We say improvement, but we're of course talking about guys who were already here. I'm talking about guys who I don't know how much anybody who came from somewhere else could improve because I didn't watch them before. So I think Camden Brown is going to be the biggest breakout from year to year in this system, and not because the other guys can't be exceptional. I still believe in Jay Fair's ability, of course, but I wonder how much he's going to be fighting for that slot position, because that slot position has a certain Javarius Johnson who is already a dynamic playmaker, probably the most consistent playmaker we've had over the last 2 seasons here.
Agreed.
So Jay Fair is going to be fighting for those snaps. Now, do he think he wins some? He gets some of those snaps, but I think Camden Brown just might find a permanent spot on the field this season with what he's able to do with his improvement year over year.
That's fair. I don't have any issues with Camden Brown being named there. He almost made my list, actually, of top 3 players, because I also believe that his productivity year over year is going to see a drastic improvement. Just the way that this offense is set up, it caters to a guy like Camden Brown. As you said, Hugh Freeze has been known to like this style of receiver a lot. and Camden Brown fitting the mold of what Hugh Freeze wants to do. He said himself, and again, I don't want to spoil too much from what we're going to talk about in the fireside chat. He said himself that he feels more comfortable in this system.
Mm-hmm.
So his comfort level, the comfort level of the people who are going to be putting him in positions to win, I think Camden Brown is poised for a breakout season year over year here at Auburn University. I'm going to get into my number 2 player on my list. While we're doing that, though, you guys make sure that you share this video. Get some other people involved in this conversation. We appreciate everybody who's already here. Share the video, add us on social media to let us know you did that, and we greatly appreciate it. While you're here, you might as well go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, at this point in time, you just hate. You just hate. You don't want to give us the sub. It's ridiculous. Like, stop, get over yourself. It's free. Subscribe to the channel.
Come on,
all right,
bro.
Yeah, man. Let's get into my number 2 person. I am also going to go with another offensive person. You did a defensive guy, did an offensive guy. I'm going to give you an offensive guy.
Okay.
Second person I'd like to mention on here is someone who I've talked about a lot, and I think he has a lot to prove. And I think that a lot of people will be pleasantly, I won't say surprised, but definitely their eyes are going to be open to his ability. And that's one Damari Alston. I think DA is going to have a phenomenal season this year because I've seen the hunger that he has. He's got a ton of talent and ability. If you haven't seen watch the film that I did on Damari,
that's right.
You don't get to see the special nature of that young man unless you're just a person who's meticulous in watching film already. But if you are a member, well, a patron at this point in time, because we're past the 24-hour period where I let all members see that on rewatch. But if you are a patron, you can go back and watch this film and see the special talent that Damari Alston has, his downhill running ability. I think that this offense, with the way they're going to spread things out and with his ability to just be patient, but also have a quick burst, Damari Alston is going to give defenses fits this season. He's a strong runner. He makes aggressive cuts. He's got good balance. He hits the hole with urgency when he arrives there. He's getting downhill and he meets people with contact at the point of attack. When they're trying to tackle him, good luck for a secondary person solo trying to bring down Damari Alston. I think he is poised to have a really great season, taking the whole Jarquez Hunter situation out of it, right? Like, if Jarquez Hunter plays, I think Damari Alston still has a phenomenal season. If Jarquez Hunter doesn't play to start the season, Damari Alston's going to absolutely terrorize UMass.
Yeah,
I am looking forward to seeing what Damari Alston does in this offense this season.
Yeah,
it's going to be bad for UMass that first game, but yeah, Damari Alston.
Okay, I mean, and that was one I had on my list as well. But
okay,
it's no problem because I had many more, but everything points to Cadillac hitting it out of the park several times in a row now. Both we're talking Tank, we're talking Jarquez, and we're talking Damari as well. I would love it if Cobb was that guy as well. We don't know if we're going to get a chance to really see him in earnest, even if we're talking garbage time. Man, we really wouldn't have a reason to trot out Jeremiah Cobb when you got Sean Jackson right there already. There's a high likelihood that we redshirt Cobb anyway. I want Sean Jackson to get his snaps, but yes, the running back rooms looks exceptionally strong, and Cadillac's been hitting out of the park for a while, man. So he seems to have gotten it right again. But I would love to see the confirmation of that. I don't want Jarquez to sit, but I am also giddy at the idea of a starting Damari Alston tearing through an FCS. Well, they're FBS technically, but they play like FCS team defense. I would actually love to see that. Yes. So my last most improved player is a player who defected to us in the 2022 signing class. He did. So last year was his true freshman season. At a position where we needed help last year, he did not see much of the field. Now that changed a little bit after the coaching firing of Brian Harsin and Caddy took over. I want to see Robert Woodyard.
Okay, this is where I thought this was going. Okay, continue. Robert Woodyard.
I want to see Robert Woodyard. They say he's a thumper. we have not seen a thumper. We have seen a thumper. Jacoby McClain was a good. He was a hitter. He was a hitter. I don't know if he diverted people, like if he scared people or not. Jacoby
Yes,
McClain
size-wise,
was a
Jacoby
sure.
was not the guy that, I mean, he definitely brought it behind his pads, but he wasn't
Right.
big enough to like really like be downhill like a KJ Britt was.
Right. And that's why I was thinking KJ Britt was the last one. Now, KJ Britt also had some speed issues that ended up in some big plays by some wide receivers. I want to see a linebacker make those hits as the defensive line is doing their job, and those gaps should be pretty plain. The defensive line shouldn't be losing ground to the offensive line, and have a linebacker that comes through and cleans up running backs, quarterbacks that are trying to scramble. I want to see him thrive. Again, we talk about this a lot. Transfers come in. I want to see the guys who chose Auburn first. I want to see them get their shot, and I want to see them succeed because they chose us first. And that's no slight to the transfers. Sometimes you make the wrong decision. Sometimes you have to recalibrate, make a different decision. But if we were coming after you and you chose us first, I want to get your shot. And I'm going to believe that you're going to be good until I see proof otherwise. So Robert Woodyard is the guy I want to see come in and make an impact on the defense. And unfortunately, DeMario Tolan is not on the team at this point in time. But that does thin out the room a little bit more and hopefully gives him an opportunity to get on the field and show what he was working on. And I'm very glad that he got a chance to get on the field at the end of the year last year, because I think we ran the risk of having people disengage from not getting an opportunity to participate and get on the field. So when Brian Hartson was fired, I think that's something that was a silver lining for all those players who ended up getting on the field late. And hopefully he's carried some momentum and some fire into this season, and he makes a difference in 2023.
Solid pick. He actually was one of the guys who I had on my list, but like you, I have multiple people just in case we had some overlap. But I think that Robert Woodyard is a solid pick for a guy who didn't see a lot of the field last year, has a ton of talent, upside, and probably has raised his stock in this offseason because he is one of those guys that could see more playing time in the upcoming season. So just from a stat perspective, he should have a better season overall. Hopefully he will get an opportunity to shine this year. That linebacker room is going to be interesting because there are a lot of guys with a lot of snaps in that room, but haven't had a lot of productivity. So going to get to my last person who is on my list. And I waffled back and forth about this because, again, I had your guy Robert Woodyard on my list, but these last ones that I had on here that were like, I don't know really what I want to do. I'm going to take a moment to talk about a guy who I talked about yesterday.
Okay.
And that's Cam Stutz.
Okay.
I did not come into this season seeing Cam Stutz as a guy who could potentially push for a starting position, but I'm starting to change my mind on that.
Okay.
After talking to some people and after seeing him get the honor of going to represent the university, a lot of people feel like this is just kind of something that the coaches did to reward him for his ability to speak well. And, he's a senior member of the team. And this is more of just an award, not a reward for something that he's earned. And I'm starting to feel a little differently about that. I do think that Cam Stutz right now has the potential to potentially be a starting guard at Auburn. And I've heard good things about what he did during the spring. I think he's raised his stock in that room to a degree to which he deserves to be on the list of most improved players. Because let's be clear, Cam Stutz had some bad tape out there.
Okay, right.
And hopefully that's not going to be the case going into this upcoming season. With a better unit around him as far as the cohesion with that group, hopefully Cam Stutz is ready to step in and be in that 2-deep rotation as a guy who could potentially push for starting reps when we start the season. He's showing leadership in the locker room. He has the seniority. I think talent is not an issue for Cam Stutz. It's understanding what the assignments were, having a better grasp of what the offense is wanting to do. I think that this offense is a little more simplified than what the blocking assignments would have been in a Brian Harsin offense that is a combination of a lot of things. So it's a little bit more complex in what you need to do. I think that he's going to have a center in Avery Jones, who has a lot more snaps sitting next to him, as opposed to last year we were doing. Brandon Council was the center later in the season, and he had a lot of reps, but he hadn't played a lot of center in his life.
Right,
Tate Johnson was the center to start the season.
right.
He was young, hadn't really played any center at this level. And the guy that was in the middle there was Jaleel Irvin, who hadn't really had a lot of reps at center as well.
That's
Avery
true.
Jones being a guy who has played a lot of reps at center, being the guy to be able to make the calls and get people lined up properly. You potentially have Peyton Thorne, a guy who's had a lot of reps at quarterback, out there helping guys get lined up properly along the offensive line. I think all of that pays dividends for a guy who has had a lot of snaps in Cam Stutz playing there at the guard position. I think he raises his stock. I think he's going to be able to make an impact this season for the team. Cam Stutz is my third guy.
Okay. You know what? I'm with that. Again, as you said, we all thought that, hey, well, he's mature and well-spoken, so that's why he's going to media day. But we're not the coaches, so you know what? Let's defer to the coaches. Let's let him get on the field, or let's see how the two deep looks coming out of fall camp. And if Cam Stutz is there, similar to what we've said with the quarterback position, we're not going to be down on any result. Whoever wins it obviously would have earned the right. So if that's a Robbie Ashford, if Cam Stutz can be spoken about in a positive manner, whether it's for maturity and his mental progression, physical, or both, then let's see what he does with the opportunity to impress the coaches. And let's hold our reservation from there. Everybody can play badly, but it's very hard to not be hampered by poor coaching or a poor system or poor team culture. And we know that we were hampered by a little bit of all of that in the last 2 years. So I'm all for giving Cam Stutz a new look and waiting to see what he does on the field before we try to say that he can't be a better player than he was before, because everybody can improve.
Absolutely, everyone can improve. It's going to be an interesting fall camp. I will say that it's going to be a very interesting fall camp. I'm looking forward to getting to SEC Media Days next week, getting an opportunity to talk to him myself. Hopefully, I'll get an opportunity to talk to Coach Freeze. I'm looking forward to seeing who emerges from a lot of these competitions, and we will be talking exhaustively about the competitions that are going to be existing in all of these rooms coming up post SEC Media Days. But very much looking forward to seeing how things shake out, particularly with that offensive line with so many unknown quantities, and then the known quantities that exist there being unhealthy in some aspects during the spring, so not able to really show what they could do. And with new guys coming in that are pushing for starting jobs immediately. Coach Freeze has already said that he didn't bring guys over here to transfer to sit them. He's looking to play those guys, but it is going to be an active competition. Looking forward to seeing who emerges from that in that competition. We're going to get to your comments here in just a moment, but before we do that, we got to remind you of today's show sponsor, RogueShop.com. Make sure you head to RogueShop.com, use code REPORT, get a little something off of your purchase. Rogue Shop is America's #1 online dispensary. You can head there to get something for anxiety, stress, pain relief. Go get yourself a candle, some gummies, tinctures. All of those things are available at RogueShop.com. America's #1 online dispensary, Rogue Shop. Use code REPORT. That lets them know that you guys, the War Report, sent you. But let's head to the comments section and see what we got going on. We appreciate you all dropping in with us this morning. CM Pat gets us started off by saying, when is the fireside dropping again? We haven't announced that, but B. Will has been working feverishly to get that audio together. He probably has a better idea than I do as to where we are with that progress.
We're done with the audio. The audio's done. So it's on Mike G to do the heavy lifting on the video. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, man. We are not a production studio. We are not a production unit. We are 4 individual guys who all use our talents to the best of our abilities while still generating the content that we generate. So hopefully we'll have a solid date for you guys coming out of Media Day as far as when to expect that. So after SEC Media Days next week, the week after, we should be able to tell you when that first one is going to drop. We'll have a better idea.
It might drop next week during Media Days. I don't even know.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
So if Mike can get it done this weekend, we may be dropping that next week. We've got a couple other interviews that we've already recorded as well that were virtual interviews. So We've got some stuff that's coming up for you guys and looking forward to getting all of that content to your ears very soon. More to come on that. We'll probably have a formal announcement about that on the Sunday show. So tune back in and we'll give you a date on that. Daniel Moultrie jumps in and says Robert Woodyard, Cam Stutz, and Omari Kelly, a name that I have not seen a lot of, but two names that we both mentioned are on there. Omari Kelly. Any thoughts on Omari Kelly as far as what you expect from him coming into this season?
He's really kind of the forgotten man with all of the new players that we had coming in at wide receiver. Camden Brown, because he fits the mold more so of what we expect Hugh Freeze to like in wide receiver. I think Omari Kelly, because he would be vying for an outside receiver position, he seems like, all right, you're going to be back of the line, almost because, like you said, Hugh Freeze has a type. Is Omari Kelly that type? Not necessarily. He's not as big as the other guys. He's not as big as a Camden Brown or a Hollywood, Shane Hooks, or Jair Shorter is not that tall, but he has a very specific skill set. Where does Omari Kelly fit in? Yeah, that's true. That's true. So where does he fit in? I don't know.
He's the speed guy in that group. I think that from the outside group, let me be specific with that, because I think that Jay Fair and Javarius may be a little bit faster than him. But as far as the outside receivers are concerned, Camden Brown fast for his size, but not fast. Right. Just in general fast. Same thing for Jair Shorter, Hooks. All of those guys fast for their size. But if you were to just line them up and say, let's do a 40, I think Omari Kelly smokes them all.
Yeah.
Coy Moore, not fast. Who else is an outside receiver in that room? We've already talked about Camden Brown. But again, Omari Kelly may be the fastest of the outside receivers. So he's going to be looked upon as, or looked at as, a guy that they're hoping to stretch the field as an outside receiver. So potentially could have some big gainers for the team, depending upon how he's used. It's going to be interesting to see how Omari Kelly gets his snaps and in what ways he's able to adjust to what's happening with this offense. I talked about the offensive line being a little more simplified in their blocking assignments in this system. It's almost the opposite for the wide receiver room. There is more complications with this because it's more sight adjustments, more about being on the same page with your quarterback and really understanding what the defense is trying to do in the option routes that are going to be presented. So it's going to be interesting to see how Omari Kelly adjusts to that. Looking forward to seeing what he's able to do in this offense.
Yeah.
CM Pat jumps back in and says, Robbie, I think, can impress whether he starts or not with his maturity and readiness. Thoughts on that?
So I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that he is mature and ready, and that would involve, if you are not selected as a starter, your disposition would be just as positive as it was when you were competing for the job in fall camp. Your preparation and how dedicated you are to what's going on in the quarterback room, and how on the spot you are with knowing what's going on in the game and the playbook and the play calling. That commitment would mean a lot of maturity. That would mean a lot of maturity is taking place. Let's hope Robbie is that ready to contribute no matter what happens in the quarterback race, because everybody's just one play away from not playing anymore, and you need to be ready. So I hope you are right in that he is that mature and that ready.
I am looking forward to seeing what Robbie Ashford is able to provide from a maturity standpoint, because this is going to be a big test of his maturity this season, as you just stated. He is one of those guys that if he's locked in and he's ready, the fight in the dog in Robbie Ashford is undeniable. Is he ready mentally to take that next step at the quarterback position and defeat the narrative that he's an athletic guy playing quarterback rather than a quarterback that's athletic? Because there is a difference between those two things.
Right.
I think this season is going to go a long way into determining whether he's ready to take that next step as a quarterback. I'm rooting for the young man to do that.
Yeah, me too.
James Sawyer jumps in. Simp is going to be a ball hawk at safety, especially if the D-line does their job up front. I agree. Is why he was on my list. I think he is going to be a guy that is patrolling. I think he's not like a hitter, right? Like he's not a guy I think that's going to be giving us those highlight, oh my God, did you just see him destroy that guy coming over the middle? But I do think he's going to be a guy that quarterbacks know where he is. He's patrolling back there. Don't make a mistake. Simpson's going to make you pay for it.
Simpson is a little more physical. He was a little too physical for a corner. Not that you can be too physical for a corner. I think that's why I think safety makes sense for him. I don't know, really, honestly. I don't know how good his ball skills are as a ball hawk. Does he have good hands?
I mean, he's a guy who's had a couple of interceptions for us already. I think he's an opportunistic. He's got speed to be able to cover the ground, and I think that he's got an eye for understanding where he needs to be on the field. I do think that he's got some ball hawking.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping so. Let's see it. And I hope the D-line does their job so we can see it as well.
Absolutely. Corey Weber joins the conversation, says, if healthy, I think Tate Johnson will be most improved on the offensive line.
That is it might be the most interesting fall camp battle is guards and linebackers. To me, guards and linebackers are the most interesting fall camp. I want to see how the two deep shakes out in those two position groups, because it could easily be a Jeremiah Wright who drew a lot of praise for how physically he played at the end of last season. It could easily be, from all accounts, it could be Connor Lew because he impressed that much in the spring. It could also be Tate Johnson. It could be Muskrat, who just came over from Tulsa and followed Dylan Wade a few months later. We have no idea what those guard positions are going to be. I am very excited and intrigued by that. I would love to see it. He had some work to do because he was undersized. He was undersized, but I think it's a great story for him if he's able to shake off a devastating injury, come back and still be a starter on that line. Not at center, but still be a starter. I think that'll be phenomenal for him. So I'm rooting for that.
Yeah, definitely. I had high hopes for Tate Johnson coming into this season. Hearing the comments from Coach Freeze about his leadership in the locker room was something. I'm always intrigued to see what leaders emerge, especially with a new staff coming in, having no previous reservations or any sort of impressions to take about players, seeing them and saying, oh, this guy feels like a leader to me. Those are interesting things to me because leadership, I think, is everybody's got talent at this level, right? Like let's be clear. If you made it to a Power 5 scholarship player, you've got talent. The question is what the floor and the ceiling of that talent is, and that's going to be relative a lot to just kind of what you're naturally gifted with, and then what a coach can extract from you, whether or not you're a right fit for a system, whether or not you're in the right position in that system. All of those things determine kind of what your relative floor and ceiling are, unless you're just a phenomenal athlete and you can just do whatever. And there are very few of those. Tate Johnson, I think, is a guy that, if placed in the right position to succeed, can succeed. The question to me about Tate Johnson is whether or not he remains healthy, and which is the caveat that he said, if healthy. And then secondarily, whether or not he's going to be the best guy in that room, right? Are we going to get an opportunity to see that improvement? He may have improved. Is he going to get the snaps to show it? I don't know the answer to that right now. He and Jeremiah Wright, to me, are the kind of the unknown quantities as far as, yes, they've got talent. I think Jeremiah Wright physically is a little bit more gifted than Tate Johnson, but will they remain healthy enough to get the snaps to show their improvement?
Right. Yeah, that's the question. So we will see.
We definitely will. Corey Weber jumps back in and says, most improved Amari Kelly. Another vote for Amari Kelly on that group. Like the love given to young Amari. P. Pass jumps in, says most improved to J.D. Rim, Robert Woodyard. Robert Woodyard, a name we have mentioned. J.D. Rim, a name that has not come up in this conversation. Thoughts on J.D.?
J.D., I don't know what to make of many of the players. I didn't see J.D. Rim enough last season to know, oh, well, that's how he plays. I have no idea. I know that if you didn't leave in the offseason, you had to believe that you had some opportunity ahead of you. So, yes, we know we got I'm trying not to call him Baby Wooden because I blank on what his first name is, but Kobe's little brother, Caleb Wooden. All right. So we got Caleb Wooden on the squad. He actually got on the field some last season. There was another safety who I was really interested in seeing play because he was a freshman last year. He played some towards the end of the season. I want to say against Mississippi State. I remember him getting on the field, even though I'm blanking on his name right now. Safety's a jumble to me. Safety's a jumble.
Marquise Gilbert's another guy that's in that safety room. Donovan Kaufman was hurt a lot last year. Another guy in that safety room.
Yeah.
There are a ton of, I think maybe you're thinking about Bridges.
Yes, Caden Bridges. Yes, that's what I'm thinking about. Caden Bridges. I have no idea of knowing. Similar to what you were saying about Tate Johnson. If J.D. Rim has improved, I don't know if he gets on the field to show it. Like that's how deep we are
Yeah.
at safety. So I don't know.
The young guy, Kayan Lee, is doing a very big push to get playing time right now. JD Rem is a guy who I liked when I saw him in spot duty. He was in the Mississippi State game. I think he played fairly well. He had one questionable pass interference call in that game. I was like, I don't know if that's actually a PI, whatever. He's a guy that's got a lot of talent and is waiting for an opportunity to show it. With the surprise return of both DJ James and Nehemiah Pritchett, that may have pushed him to another year of trying to. If JD Rem could be patient, I think he and Kayan Lee can be lockdown corners for us next year. That's how confident I am in the ability of both of those young players. If he's just patient enough to be able, because DJ and Nehemiah can't come back next year.
Right.
Deontay Scott is probably gone if he has a good enough season this year.
Right.
And if he does return, I think he's a lock to be at that star position again. So I don't think he's going to move to the outside. That means that it's JD's spot on the outside. I don't know that there's going to be another corner that's going to come in and usurp him as a true freshman unless we get some outstanding transfer guy, right?
Yeah.
Austin Osbury is in the safety room now, so he's not going to be pushing for an outside corner position. So I think it becomes JD's job to lose next year going into next season. Him and Kayan Lee, I think, will make a dynamic duo on the outside for Auburn. I just don't know that we get an opportunity, sans injury, to see that very much this year, even with rotations.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to assume that he would have a good opportunity to start next year until we bring in another high 4 or even 5-star corner like a Kayan Lee who flashes early, and now you're fighting for your life in a room where you thought you might have an inside job at track to start. So, man, Crime Dog and Zach Etheridge doing a phenomenal job stocking the cupboards over there. Really can't complain about how much talent we got in those rooms.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Ant Robinson does Mike G proud and mentions Jay Fair. I think Jay Fair is I think it is fair to mention Jay in this conversation because he didn't get a lot of opportunities last year, and he's going to get many more of those this season to show improve.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to the world being introduced to Jay Fair this season in Auburn.
Yeah, same here for sure.
Daniel Moultrie says, agreed, Ant Jarquez will go pro after this year. Then Damari will be RB1 next year with Cobb as his RB2.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to happen. I think we will also have, we know Brian Battie is going to be, I believe, out of eligibility after the season. I'm not absolutely sure. I think last season was his junior year. This is his true senior year in 24. He would be eligible. Yeah, he was here in 2020. He came into South Florida in 2020. So, yeah, he could play a 5th year.
Yes.
But, man, you got to feel like it makes sense that we're going after 2 running backs in this class. We got Fat Burnett already committed, but we're still going after another running back because we would be down to our 1 and 2. We're going to lose 2 running backs after the season, I believe. I believe we lose Battie and Jarquez, so we'll be down to a Damari and a Cobb, and you can't just have 2. You need at least 3. Right. So, I think it's safe to say that could be our 1-2 next year, and we scoop another 2 because Caddy does the job.
I am looking forward to seeing what they do in this offseason. I don't want to skip ahead of the entire season, but how they replenish the cupboard because there's a lot of talent that should be walking out of the door, unfortunately, for Auburn in the offseason.
Yeah, man.
Dana Jones says Wesley Steiner most improved. This would be a guy I would love to see be on that list. As you mentioned, thumpers at the linebacker position. Wesley Steiner fits the bill as a guy who plays behind his pads, plays with a lot of speed. Everybody says how intelligent he is. If he can improve and be a really good centerpiece for our defense, Wesley Steiner would be welcome, in my opinion. I need to see it on the field.
Yeah, I want to see it on the field. We know he missed some opportunities when he had the opportunity to make tackles at points last season, and he also was out of position at times last season. But again, getting intel and understanding of what was going on last season for that team, I understand why players may not have been able to play their best. So now it comes down to, I think we have a better linebacker coach. Let me start there. I think we have a better linebacker coach.
Okay.
I think it's also extremely helpful for a linebacker, and we talked about this plenty, to see the game and be on the field. Like, that's the learning curve for linebackers. I don't think it's assignment as much as it is the habit of reading and reacting because you've been practicing, but there's nothing like that real game experience.
Right.
That was his first real game experience last year as a starter. Let's see what he does with that experience and some better coaching. I think it's completely possible that Steiner improves, but we'll see how much going into this year.
I am hopeful for that young man because I had high hopes for him coming into last year that he was going to take that next step. Hopefully, this is the year that he does it. But again, I need to see it on the field. Corey Weber jumps back in and says, I'm beginning to think Jarquez doesn't miss any games in regard to the comment earlier about DA, Jarquez, UMass, all that sort of thing. Thoughts on this one, be Will?
Yeah, I don't think he misses a game. I
Hmm.
don't think he best. Well, no, let's see. At the absolute most, I think he misses like a half. I think he gets the old Nick Marshall, 2014, a half because Jarquez didn't break any laws, as far as we know and understand. Maybe something in poor taste, but poor taste shouldn't get you disciplined on the field. So we shall see. But I am with you, Corey. I don't think Jarquez missed any games.
Yeah, I am of the mind that he will miss some time. To your point, will it be an entire game? I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if they, from the standpoint of just to make a statement, held him out of the UMass game. I do think it's possible he only misses a half, but if we're doing well enough in the first half of that game, will he even need to come in the second half?
Right, right.
I do know that he is currently serving some form of suspension right now during the summer. So they are doing their due diligence in regard to all things concerning Mr. Jarquez Hunter, but nothing has come out definitively as far as suspensions of games or anything like that. I'd be shocked if we got through SEC Media Days next week and Coach Freeze isn't asked about this or he didn't make some mention of it. So we will get some sort of answers, even if it's a non-answer, coming sometime next week.
Okay.
But I am in the camp of believing that Jarquez Hunter will be playing for Auburn next year. The question is, will he miss any time? I don't know the answer to that yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Last one I got here, actually not last one, excuse me. Next to last, Lawrence Robinson says Malcolm Johnson. Malcolm Johnson, a name that, again, like Omari Kelly, gets forgotten a lot. And I will have to retract what I said about outside receivers. Who's the fastest? The answer to that actually is Malcolm Johnson.
By all
Malcolm
accounts.
Johnson is the fastest outside receiver in that group because I don't think he's going to be playing slot. So Malcolm Johnson definitely would take that title.
Yeah. It's really hard to say when a guy is really, really fast that he can't see the field.
Yeah.
Speed kills. Would they love to give a super fast wide receiver on the field? Absolutely, they would. However, I don't know what Hugh Freeze wants to put on the field. So I'm having a really hard time. Again, we've talked about this on our live shows during the week, our midweek report, and also the weekend tailgate, trying to figure out who they're going to put on the field. It's the hardest thing you could possibly do right now. We don't know who they're going to put on the field. We don't know what these guys are good at who are coming in. We just got to try to figure this out. So we will figure it out, and we will see. We will see. But I would love for, again, the guys who chose Auburn first, I want to see them get on the field and get a shot to show what
that is listen, man. That's a loaded wide receiver room. I don't know how the snaps are going to be distributed, but it's a loaded room. And Malcolm's a good kid. I think that he deserves his opportunities. We'll see how he's able to, again, another guy who's been kind of oft injured, right? He was injured last season, been injured during the spring. We'll see where he sits in the fall as far as that injury is concerned, but hopefully he gets his opportunity to shine. Last one here, Daniel Moultrie jumps in, giving props to B. Will. Says, got to give you a shout out. The new intros are hotter than a Golden's cast iron grill on a football Saturday.
That's a very good point because that fire pit that we fired up was hot. It's an amazing piece of American ingenuity. But yeah, man, I appreciate that. We put a lot of work into it with all of our creative skills in addition to what we do with the content on camera. So I appreciate you recognizing music don't make itself. Appreciate it, man.
Looking forward to you guys being able to see more of what we've got coming up, but we are going to get out of here. Once again, we appreciate the sponsor of the Morning Drop, who is rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get a little something off your purchase. Before you guys get out of here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with somebody else. We will be back at you on Sunday with the weekend tailgate. Make sure you have a really great weekend. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle, we're out of here. Peace.
Peace.